In every walk with nature, one receives far more than he seeks. John Muir. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Seasons of Jason podcast. Thanks for letting me share this journey with you, and thanks for being so patient waiting for new episodes. The good news is we are inching closer and closer to the present tense, when I can hopefully start sharing all of my adventures in real time with you, or almost in real time. So I've shared a good chunk of my origin story so far, and those formative events from my past kind of felt like disjointed footpaths that aren't connected by a main route. What I mean by that is, you know how sometimes you're on a trail and the main path splits into multiple paths that might look a little less traveled. They're called spur trails. Sometimes they're short detours, sometimes they're shortcuts, sometimes they're simply people exploring what's off the beaten path. The stories I've shared so far, they're a bit like those spur trails. Together, they contributed to my love for hiking and for nature. But one day, my awesome Aunt Jeanette, who I know is listening and who's been a champion for all of my creative pursuits of any kind, she asked me point blank, what was the real catalyst that set things on fire for you? One thing, not a series of small events that spanned decades, but the one thing that was a direct gateway to the trail that I need to be walking. What made me decide definitively that my life needs to consist of as much hiking as possible? Well, Aunt Jay, this is my podcast, so I'm going to cheat and share two of them, not just one. But they both happened in a single whirlwind month, September 2024. The first catalyst, a bit milder, but still impactful, was in early September. Kimber and I, my best friend, we went to see a Green Day and Rancid concert in Northern California. Two of our favorite bands since we were both teenagers. I've never stopped loving Green Day and Rancid. And there was no way that show was not going to be absolutely epic. But before that show, we did some hiking along the Northern California coast at places like Maury Point, Sonoma Coast State Park, and the Armstrong Redwoods State Natural Preserve. I walked away from that trip only mildly enjoying the actual concert, but counting those random hikes that we did as the most memorable parts by far. Every short hike was like a refreshing blast of cool, fragrant air for my soul. It recharged my spirit and it left me craving a lot more. And listen, if you understand how obsessed I am with music, you would understand that this is quite the statement for me. The hiking along the coast was meant to just be a side quest, a fun way to kill some time waiting for the concert to come around. But it was far and away the best highlight. But the second thing that happened later in September was the avalanche that set everything into motion. It's where I broke down crying from the beauty. My first real hike in Yosemite National Park happened on the valley floor. And there was definitely a flashpoint. A single moment that, combined with other past and future moments, was so powerful that I really believe it set me on the path I'm on right now. It's a moment that I unexpectedly broke down and started crying. Not the kind of crying where you get a misty-eyed, nostalgia-laced tear or two and just move on. The kind where you have to stop, sit down, and just bawl your eyes out. To the best of my memory, that has never happened to me because of sheer overpowering beauty. But it happened in Yosemite. And it happened at the edge of a meadow facing east. About a week after the Green Day show, I decided to head up to Yosemite for the day and hike the Valley Loop Trail. I think it's about 15 or 16 miles. It's the first time I'd been there since a very brief visit, which was just a matter of hours with my brother in 2016. There's a specific section of this hike where the trail crosses Northside Drive just before it starts running parallel to the Merced River. Here's the scene. Imagine, in the foreground, a pair of very young pine trees. Next to them, there's several fallen trees that are scattered at the edge of a field. They're all smoothed out from wind and rain and weather, and they're made pale from years of sunlight. The ground around them is brown and dry, but the meadow stretches out about 200, 300 yards, and there's layers of green and gold everywhere. There's a breeze drifting across the field, making it seem like it's breathing. Your eye then gets drawn to the far edge of the meadow. There's a small tree line of pines there, standing sharp and green against the softness of that meadow. And then the granite takes over, but not immediately in a way that dominates the whole scene. It's a slow build. There's pockets of green growing out of the stone. Your eyes keep moving upward, following the curves, the fractures, and the seams in the rock that show millions of years of history. Some of the granite swallows the sun and it's bathed in shadow. Other areas catch the light and show off the gray and silver of the granite. The longer you stare at it, the more majestic it looks. Unmoving, heavy, eternal. Then, much further in the distance, off to the left, you see Half Dome. And now that you've seen it, you'll never not see it. It gives the Yosemite skyline one of its many unforgettable signature shapes. And then, of course, there's the sky. No smog, no haziness, just this clear, stark, deep blue that feels almost artificial after you've spent years in big cities. It's like someone edited it in Photoshop with just a little too much saturation. And the light here, it just feels otherworldly. I know that John Muir called the Sierra Nevada the range of light, and maybe there's a scientific explanation for why the light just seems higher quality, magical, more luminous. After a few minutes, your eyes are finally able to take it all in, the entire scene, and it leaves you breathless and mystified and overwhelmed in ways you don't really understand. And if we're talking about my eyes, they start weeping. And then it becomes this full body affair. My frame just heaving up and down uncontrollably. Not to get overly poetic and melodramatic here, but it really did feel like toxicity leaving my body. It felt like the weight of the world taking a leave of absence. Like nature was exorcising the demons. And it was all replaced by a strong desire to spend every possible waking moment out in nature doing exactly this. John Muir wrote extensively about Yosemite, but there's one line that I think perfectly sums up how I felt after experiencing this particular moment. He said, "It is by far the grandest of all the special temples of nature I was ever permitted to enter." And guess what happened just days after that hike? I found myself at REI. For those not in the US, that's a outdoor outfitter retail chain. So yeah, a few days later, I'm at REI spending way too much money on backpacking gear. And the rest of September was spent daydreaming and planning another adventure in Yosemite, but not in the valley. This time, it would be in the backcountry. So in episode 4, I told you about my very first hike. Well, in the next episode, I'll tell you all about my first backpacking trip into the Yosemite wilderness. That's going to do it for this episode of Seasons of Jason. Thank you for listening. Thanks for spending your time. There's not a lot of it. It's a valuable resource, and I appreciate you spending some of it with me, letting me share my story with you. My hope for this podcast is that it somehow inspires you to get out there and find your own trail to hike. And you can take that literally or metaphorically. It's up to you. Until we chat again, take care and take care of each other.